Operation Silent Strike. The bridge of the UES Defiant hummed with tension as Captain Sarah Chen studied the holographic display before her. The massive Zarkax battle fleet stretched across the star system like a web of steel and plasma, their ships forming an impenetrable blockade around humanity's last independent colony world. 200 warships against one. The odds would have seemed impossible to anyone else, but the Defiant wasn't just any ship. "Status report," Chen called out, her voice steady despite the weight of their mission. "Phase shift drive at 98% capacity, Captain," Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez reported from engineering. "Quantum camouflage systems are primed and ready. We're as ghost-like as we'll ever be." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Defiant represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, a warship that could literally phase between dimensions, becoming virtually undetectable to even the most advanced alien sensors. The ship's quantum camouflage system could bend light and energy around its hull, making it appear as nothing more than stellar background radiation. "Commander Walsh, what's the status of our target?" Her first officer, Diana Walsh, pulled up detailed scans of the Zarkax flagship. "The Eternal Dominion remains in position, Captain. Their shield configurations haven't changed. They still have no idea we're here." That was the advantage of being impossible. The Zarkax Empire had declared victory 6 months ago when they destroyed Earth's primary defense fleet. They believed they had broken humanity's will to resist. They were wrong. While their attention was focused on subjugating human worlds, a secret facility deep within the Kuiper Belt had completed work on the Defiant. Now it was time to show the Empire why underestimating humanity was always a fatal mistake. "Begin Operation Silent Strike," Chen ordered. "Take us in, nice and slow. Remember everyone, we only get one shot at this." The Defiant glided forward, its phase shift drive allowing it to pass straight through the outer screen of Zarkax patrol ships. To their sensors, there was nothing but empty space. Inside the ship, the crew worked with practiced precision. They had trained for months for this mission, running countless simulations until every movement was perfect. "Approaching optimal strike range," Walsh reported. "Phase shift drive starting to show strain from maintaining full dimensional displacement." Chen nodded. The technology wasn't perfect yet. They could only remain phased for limited periods before the exotic matter powering the drive began to destabilize. But they didn't need perfect. They just needed enough time to deliver their payload. "All hands, prepare for combat phase shift," Chen announced shipwide. "Weapon systems, stand by." The Defiant's revolutionary arsenal was designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses in Zarkax shield technology. Their dimensional torpedoes could phase through standard energy barriers, remerging inside enemy ships with devastating effect. But first, they had to get close enough without being detected. "Multiple sensor sweeps incoming," Lieutenant Jessica Patel warned from Tactical. "They're increasing security around the flagship. Something has them spooked." "They sense something's wrong, but they don't know what," Chen said. "Maintain course. Time to emergence point." 3 minutes, Captain." Chen watched as they closed the distance to their target. The Eternal Dominion was a massive vessel, nearly 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapon emplacements, and protected by shields that could withstand sustained bombardment from an entire battle fleet. But those defenses meant nothing against an enemy that could strike from between dimensions. 2 minutes to emergence. Phase shift drive showing critical stress patterns. "Steady as she goes," Chen ordered. "Engineering, divert auxiliary power to containment fields." "Aye, Captain." "Containment holding, but we're pushing the limits of the technology." This was the moment of truth. Everything hinged on their ability to maintain the phase shift long enough to get into position. If they emerged too soon, they would be detected and destroyed before they could fire. If they pushed the drive too far, they risked a catastrophic containment failure. 1 minute. Multiple vessels converging on our position. They can't detect us, but they know something's wrong. Chen leaned forward in her command chair. Prepare to emerge on my mark. Weapons lock onto their primary reactor core the instant we phase back in. 30 seconds. Phase shift drive reaching critical threshold. Stand by. Stand by. The bridge crew held their breath as the massive form of the Eternal Dominion filled their view screen. They were now less than a kilometer from their target, point-blank range by space combat standards. Now, the Defiant burst into normal space directly beneath the Zarkak's flagship's belly. For a split second, there was absolute silence as the enemy crew struggled to process the impossible sight of a human warship materializing inside their defense screen. Fire. Dimensional torpedoes launched from the Defiant's weapon ports, phasing through the flagship's hull before detonating inside its reactor chambers. The resulting explosion lit up space like a newborn star as the pride of the Zarkak's fleet began to break apart. Multiple enemy ships responding. They're launching fighters. Phase shift drive offline. We can't phase out. Chen's expression remained calm, even as alerts blared across the bridge. Launch countermeasures. Begin evasive pattern delta. Get us clear of the blast radius. The Defiant accelerated away from the dying flagship, its point defense systems engaging the swarm of fighters pursuing them. They had achieved their primary objective, but now came the equally challenging task of escape. Message from command, Captain, Walsh reported with a grin. They say the colony's defensive systems are back online. The blockade is breaking up in confusion. Send our confirmation, Chen ordered. Tell them Operation Silent Strike was a success. The age of Zarkak's invincibility is over. As the Defiant raced for safety, the explosion of the Eternal Dominion sent shockwaves through space and through the Empire's carefully maintained image of superiority. Humanity had just demonstrated that even the mightiest alien power could be vulnerable. The war was far from over, but for the first time since Earth fell, hope had been restored. In her command chair, Captain Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Defiant had proven itself more than just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's refusal to submit, their ability to achieve the impossible through innovation and courage. And this was only the beginning. The Ghost Protocol. The destruction of the Eternal Dominion sent shockwaves through the Zarkak's empire, but Captain Chen knew their victory would be short-lived unless they could capitalize on the confusion. The Defiant limped through hyperspace, its revolutionary phase shift drive offline after the strain of their first major operation. Damage assessment. Chen called out as repair crews worked throughout the ship. Commander Walsh brought up a holographic display of the ship's systems. Phase shift drive needs a complete rebuild. Hull integrity at 70%. But our conventional systems are operational, and the quantum camouflage is still functioning. How long until we can phase again? Engineering estimates at least 72 hours, assuming we can find a safe port for repairs. Chen studied the tactical display showing dozens of Zarkak's battle groups converging on their last known position. The Empire was mobilizing everything they had to hunt down the ship that had humiliated them. But they were searching for the wrong thing. Lieutenant Rodriguez, she called to engineering. What's the status of the prototype system? Ghost Protocol is ready for testing, Captain. But without the phase shift drive, we'll be limited to visual and sensor deception only. We won't be able to pass through solid matter. It would have to be enough. The Ghost Protocol was even more experimental than their phase shift technology, a system that could alter the Defiant's apparent size, configuration, and energy signature to match any ship in its database. They had never attempted to use it in actual combat conditions. Signal from command, Lieutenant Patil announced. The Zarkaks are retaliating against the colony. They're deploying planet-killer weapons. Chen's jaw tightened. This was exactly what they had feared. Time to intercept. 18 hours at maximum speed. But there are at least 30 enemy capital ships in orbit, without the phase shift drive. We'll find another way, Chen interrupted. Begin Ghost Protocol initialization. Commander Walsh, Get me everything we have on Zarkak's fleet protocols and recognition signals. The bridge crew worked through the night, programming the quantum camouflage systems with detailed replicas of Zarkak's warship configurations. By morning, they were ready to attempt something never before tried in the history of space warfare. The Defiant dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the colony system. Ahead, the massive Zarkak's fleet hung in orbit like a swarm of metallic insects, their weapon systems charging for a planetary bombardment. Ghost Protocol active, Rodriguez reported. Quantum camouflage reconfiguring now. The Defiant's hull seemed to shimmer and stretch, its sleek human design replaced by the angular, aggressive appearance of a Zarkak's heavy cruiser. Energy emitters adjusted to match exactly the power signature of an Imperial vessel. Incoming transmission, Patil warned. They're requesting authentication codes. Send the package we prepared, Chen ordered. The codes were hours old, stolen from the Eternal Dominion's computers before its destruction, but they should still work if their timing was right. Tense seconds passed as the Zarkak's fleet processed their response. Then, authentication accepted. We are cleared to join the attack formation. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Take us in, nice and slow. Let's see just how good our disguise really is. The Defiant glided into position among the enemy fleet, its false Zarkak's hull reflecting the light of the system's sun. To all external sensors, it appeared to be the Imperial cruiser Relentless Fury, reportedly damaged in a recent engagement and now returning to service. Multiple ships adjusting position to accommodate us, Walsh reported. They're completely buying it. They had to time this perfectly. The Ghost Protocol was consuming enormous power to maintain their disguise, and they would only get one chance before the deception was discovered. Bring us up alongside the command ship, Chen ordered. Prepare to deploy all conventional weapons. We may not be able to phase through their shields, but we can still punch hard enough to matter. The massive Zarkak's command vessel loomed before them, its weapon ports glowing as it prepared to begin the planetary bombardment. They were now close enough to see individual crew members through the external viewports. Enemy vessel is hailing us, Patil announced. They're ordering all ships to begin firing sequence. Perfect timing, Chen said. Drop Ghost Protocol on my mark. All weapons target their primary fire control systems. Time to remind the Empire why humans are so dangerous. Ready on your order, Captain. Chen watched as the command ship's weapons reached full charge. The moment they committed to firing, their shields would adjust to allow the energy beams through, creating a brief vulnerability. Now, the Defiant's false image dissolved, revealing its true form at point-blank range. Before the shocked Zarkak's crew could react, every weapon on the human vessel opened fire simultaneously. Conventional torpedoes and energy beams struck precisely at the weak points in the command ship's shield grid. Direct hits, Patil called out. Their fire control is disabled. They're losing power to weapons. Send the signal to the colony, Chen ordered. Tell them to launch everything they have. From the planet's surface, hundreds of defensive missiles rose into space, taking advantage of the confusion to strike at the suddenly disorganized Zarkak's fleet. Without central coordination from their command ship, the alien vessels began to break formation. Multiple enemy ships powering weapons, Walsh warned. Our disguise is blown. Launch countermeasures and get us clear, Chen ordered. Plot us a course through their formation. Let's see how many of them we can convince to shoot each other. The Defiant accelerated hard, its quantum camouflage now shifting rapidly between different vessel configurations. One moment it appeared as a Zarkak's destroyer, the next as a supply ship, then as 3 separate patrol craft. The enemy fleet's targeting systems couldn't keep up with the constant changes, and in their confusion, several ships opened fire on their own allies. Colony reports their ground-based defenses are fully engaged, Patil announced. The Zarkak's bombardment has been disrupted. Chen nodded in satisfaction. They had prevented the immediate threat to the colony, But more importantly, they had demonstrated that humanity's new technologies could turn the Empire's own strengths against them. Ghost Protocol had proven even more effective than they had hoped. Message from Command, Walsh said. They're picking up massive fleet movements throughout the sector. The Empire is mobilizing everything they have. Good, Chen replied, surprising her crew. The more ships they commit to hunting us, the fewer they have available to terrorize other human worlds. And now we've shown them that even their most powerful vessels aren't safe. As the Defiant slipped away from the chaos they had created, Chen knew the real war was just beginning. The Zarkax would be more cautious now, more paranoid. Every ship they encountered could potentially be the humans in disguise. And that fear would prove to be a weapon more powerful than any phase shift drive or quantum camouflage. The Ghost Protocol had changed the rules of engagement forever. Now it was time to show the Empire just how creative humans could be when it came to fighting back. Echoes of betrayal. The secure communication channel crackled with static as Captain Chen reviewed the encrypted transmission from Command. Something wasn't right. The orders directing the Defiant to attack a supposedly crucial Zarkax supply depot contained subtle inconsistencies that set off warning bells in her mind. Commander Walsh, analyze this tactical data. Does anything seem off to you? Her first officer studied the intelligence briefing with a frown. The patrol patterns are wrong. These movements don't match any known Zarkax doctrine we've encountered. Chen nodded grimly. After 2 months of successful raids using the Ghost Protocol, they had developed a solid understanding of Imperial tactical procedures. These readings looked more like someone's approximation of how the Zarkax operated rather than actual fleet movements. Lieutenant Patel, run a deep scan of the communication protocols used in this transmission. The tactical officer's fingers flew across her console. Captain, the encryption is authentic, but the underlying code structure shows signs of manipulation. Someone with high-level access modified these orders. The implications were chilling. Only a handful of people in the human resistance had the clearance necessary to issue commands to the Defiant. If their command structure had been compromised. New contact. Rodriguez called out from engineering. Multiple signatures entering the system. Reading 6. No, 8 Zarkax heavy cruisers. That's impossible, Walsh said. According to these orders, this sector should be nearly empty of enemy forces. Chen's expression hardened. It's a trap. Someone told them we were coming. Sound General Quarters. Begin Ghost Protocol initialization. But before they could activate their deception systems, a massive energy surge erupted from what had appeared to be empty space directly ahead of them. A Zarkax dreadnought materialized, its weapons already tracking their position. They've developed some kind of cloaking technology, Patel reported, reading similar energy signatures from multiple vectors. They got us surrounded. Chen's mind raced. The Zarkax had never demonstrated stealth capabilities before. The only way they could have developed countermeasures so quickly was if someone had given them detailed information about human technology. Emergency maneuvers, Chen ordered. Rodriguez, get that Ghost Protocol online now. Walsh, begin dumping our secure databases. If we've been compromised, we can't risk them capturing our intel. The Defiant twisted through space as energy beams lanced out from the ambushing vessels. Their conventional shields strained under the assault while the crew worked frantically to bring their deception systems online. Ghost Protocol active, Rodriguez reported, but they seem to be able to see through our disguise. They're still tracking us. Captain, Walsh called out urgently. I found something in the command codes. There's a hidden data packet embedded in the transmission. It's sending out a continuous signal. They're using our own communications to track us. Chen's jaw clenched. Someone in command had not only set them up, but had engineered a way to negate their greatest advantage. The question was why. Shut down all non-essential communications. Patel, prepare to execute Protocol Omega. The tactical officer's eyes widened. Protocol Omega was their absolute last resort. A complete systems reset that would temporarily disable every piece of advanced technology on the ship, including life support. It was incredibly risky, but it might be their only chance to shake off whatever was letting the enemy track them. Multiple impacts, Walsh reported as another barrage struck their shields. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 5. Emergency containment holding. All hands. This is the captain, Chen announced shipwide. Prepare for Protocol Omega. Emergency oxygen systems only. And someone get me a secure channel to Admiral Harrison. The aging admiral had been their strongest supporter in command, the one who had pushed hardest for the development of the Defiant's revolutionary systems. If anyone could help them understand what was happening, it would be him. Channel open, Paddle said. But, Captain, the signal's being redirected. It's not going to command headquarters. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing not Admiral Harrison's familiar face, but the angular features of the Zarkak's military commander. Behind him stood a human figure in an admiral's uniform, but not Harrison. Captain Chen, the Zarkak's officer said smoothly. I am Supreme Commander Vextal. I believe you've already met my associate, Admiral Drake. Chen's blood ran cold. Drake had been reported killed in action months ago during the fall of Earth. His survival and his presence on his Zarkak's command ship explained far too much. I must commend you on the effectiveness of your ship's capabilities, Vextal continued. The Ghost Protocol in particular is a remarkable achievement, one that will serve the Empire well once we acquire it. The Defiant will self-destruct before we let you take her, Chen replied firmly. Drake stepped forward. Don't be foolish, Sarah. The war is over. Earth is lost. The best we can hope for now is to secure humanity's survival through cooperation with the Empire. Surrender your ship, and your crew will be treated well. Resist, and he gestured, and the dreadnought's main weapons began powering up. Chen cut the transmission. Protocol Omega now. All hands brace for 0 power. The Defiant went dark, every system shutting down simultaneously. In the absolute darkness of space, the tiny human vessel seemed to vanish completely. The pursuing Zarkak ships fired blindly, their targeting systems unable to lock onto the powered-down craft. Emergency power only. Chen ordered as minimal systems came back online. Plot us a course out of here. Maximum stealth. We need to warn the Resistance about Drake's betrayal. As they slipped away from the Imperial ambush, Chen knew their mission had changed fundamentally. It wasn't enough now to simply harass the enemy's forces. They had to root out the corruption within their own command structure before more human worlds paid the price for Drake's treachery. The Defiant had been created to be humanity's secret weapon against the Zarkak's empire. Now it would have to save humanity from itself as well. The hunter's game. The Deep Space Monitoring Station hadn't seen maintenance in months. Its external sensors were covered in cosmic dust, and its automated defense systems hung lifelessly in their mounts. To all appearances, it was just another abandoned human outpost, one of thousands left derelict after the Zarkak's invasion. Perfect camouflage for a trap. Inside the station's darkened command center, Captain Chen watched as a Zarkak's patrol group approached. The Defiant lay powered down nearby, hidden among a cloud of debris that had once been the station's communication array. 3 heavy cruisers, Walsh reported quietly, matching the energy signatures we recorded during the ambush. They're definitely part of Drake's special task force. After escaping the trap laid by the traitorous admiral, the Defiant had spent weeks gathering intelligence. They'd discovered that Drake hadn't just betrayed humanity's latest weapons technology. He'd handed over encryption codes, tactical databases, and the location of every resistance cell from Earth to the outer colonies. Life support readings from the lead vessel, Chen asked. Confirmed, Paddle responded. Drake is aboard, and he's brought friends, reading at least 20 human life signs mixed in with the Zarkak's crew. More traitors, selling out their own species for whatever rewards the Empire had promised them. The thought made Chen's stomach turn, but it also reinforced the importance of their mission. The Resistance was being dismantled piece by piece, and the Defiant might be the only ship capable of stopping it. "Begin Ghost Protocol startup sequence," Chen ordered. "But this time, we're doing something different. Rodriguez, initiate Project Mirror." The engineering officer grinned as he began the specialized programming sequence they developed. After their narrow escape, the Defiant's crew had worked around the clock to enhance their deception capabilities. Project Mirror was the result, an upgrade to the Ghost Protocol that would allow them to replicate not just the appearance of enemy ships, but their actual energy signatures and communication patterns. "Mirror systems online," Rodriguez reported, ready to begin the show. The Zarkax patrol was now close enough that they could see individual crew members moving past the vessel's viewports. They were conducting a standard sweep of the sector, looking for signs of Resistance activity. Instead, they were about to get a lesson in human ingenuity. "Execute Mirror Protocol," Chen commanded. "Target the trailing cruiser first." The Defiant's quantum camouflage systems activated, but instead of creating a false image, they began absorbing and replicating the exact energy patterns of the Zarkax vessel they were targeting. Within seconds, they had created a perfect copy of its power signature. "Mirror complete," Rodriguez said. "We're broadcasting their exact frequency patterns." "Send the prepared transmission," Chen ordered. "Let's see if our Zarkax language lessons paid off." A carefully crafted distress signal, synthesized to match the voice patterns of a Zarkax commander, broadcast from the Defiant to the lead vessel. It reported critical system failures and requested immediate assistance. The patrol group's formation broke as the lead cruiser turned to assist what it thought was one of its own ships. That's when Chen sprung the trap. "Switch Mirror Protocol to the lead vessel. Fire dimensional torpedoes." The Defiant's signature shifted instantly, now matching the lead cruiser exactly. When the torpedoes launched, they appeared to come from the Zarkax vessel itself, streaking toward its supposedly damaged companion. Confusion reigned as the trailing cruiser's crew tried to understand why they were being fired upon by their own commander. Their shields weren't even raised when the torpedoes struck, tearing through their hull. "Second target acquired," Paddle reported. "Mirror Protocol shifting now." The Defiant's energy signature changed again, this time matching the damaged vessel. A new transmission went out, this one appearing to come from the crippled ship, accusing the third cruiser of being infiltrated by human agents. "They're firing on each other," Walsh announced with satisfaction. "The third cruiser is launching fighters against the lead vessel." Chen watched as their carefully orchestrated deception turned the patrol group into chaos. The Zarkax crew, already paranoid about human infiltration, thanks to the Ghost Protocol's previous successes, were all too ready to believe their allies had been compromised. "Drake is trying to regain control," Paddle reported. "He's broadcasting authentication codes." "Perfect. Rodriguez, execute final phase." The Defiant shifted one last time, its energy signature now an exact match for Drake's command vessel. Using his own authentication codes, they transmitted orders for all ships to stand down. "Picking up multiple escape pod launches from the lead cruiser," Walsh reported. "Reading human life signs. They're abandoning ship." "Tractor beam those pods," Chen ordered. "Time to have a conversation with our old friend Drake about the meaning of loyalty." The battle was over in minutes. One Zarkax cruiser destroyed, another crippled, and the third in full retreat. More importantly, they had captured the architect of humanity's greatest betrayal, along with enough collaborators to begin unraveling the entire network of traitors within the Resistance. As the Defiant's crew began securing their prisoners, Chen received an urgent transmission from one of their few remaining trusted contacts in command. The message was brief but confirmed their worst fears. Drake's intelligence had allowed the Empire to locate Earth's last major shipyard, hidden deep in the Kuiper Belt. A massive Zarkax strike fleet was already on its way to destroy it. "Plot a course to the shipyard," Chen ordered. "Maximum speed." "But Captain," Walsh protested, "even with the Mirror Protocol, we're just one ship. That shipyard is building 3 more vessels like the Defiant. If it's destroyed, then humanity loses its best chance to turn this war around. Chen finished, which is exactly why we're going to stop them. It's time to show the Empire that they're not the only ones who know how to coordinate a fleet. She turned to Rodriguez. How many different ship signatures can the Mirror Protocol maintain simultaneously? The engineer's eyes widened as he realized what she was suggesting. You want to make them think we're an entire battle group. The Empire fears one human stealth ship, Chen said with a grim smile. Let's show them a dozen. Signal command and tell them to prepare for Operation Phantom Fleet. The Hunter is about to become an army. Legacy of humanity. The Kuiper Belt shipyard hung against the backdrop of space like a spider's web spun from steel and starlight. Within its sprawling framework, 3 new vessels were taking shape, each one incorporating the revolutionary technologies that had made the Defiant so effective. They represented humanity's future, their best hope for turning the tide of war. And the Zarkak strike fleet was less than 6 hours away. Final status report, Captain Chen commanded from the Defiant's bridge. Mirror Protocol at maximum capacity, Rodriguez reported. We've programmed 15 distinct ship signatures ready for deployment. But maintaining that many simultaneous projections will put incredible strain on our systems. Prisoner interrogation results are in, Walsh added. Drake finally broke. The Zarkak's fleet consists of 30 capital ships, including their new flagship, the Imperial Vengeance. They're bringing enough firepower to reduce the entire belt to atoms. Chen studied the tactical display showing the shipyard's minimal defenses. Most of their resources had gone into keeping the facility hidden and protecting the prototype vessels under construction. They had never expected to have to defend against a full-scale assault. What's the status of the new ships? The Intrepid is closest to completion, about 80%. The others are still just frameworks. None of them have operational power systems yet. Chen nodded. They had known it would be a nearly impossible fight, but humanity had a habit of achieving the impossible when their backs were against the wall. Begin Operation Phantom Fleet. Deploy our Mirror Protocol projections in a defensive screen around the shipyard. Make it look like we had time to gather every ship we could spare. The Defiant's quantum camouflage systems hummed to life, projecting multiple false vessels into carefully planned positions. To any observer, it would appear that a substantial human battle group had assembled to protect the facility. Incoming transmission from the shipyard, Patil announced. Chief Engineer Santos wants to speak with you. The gruff face of the shipyard's lead engineer appeared on the main screen. Captain, we've been studying the sensor data from your Mirror Protocol. We think we can help boost your projection capabilities. How? The shipyard's power grid was designed to handle the energy requirements of multiple phase shift drives. If we route that power through our long-range communication arrays, we can amplify your Mirror Protocol signals. Make your ghost ships look even more convincing. It was a brilliant suggestion. The shipyard itself would become part of their deception system, strengthening their false fleet's sensor signatures. But there was a catch. You'll have to divert power from the protective shields, Chen pointed out. Santos nodded grimly. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything, Captain. We've got 3,000 civilians working in this facility. We trust you to protect them. Before Chen could respond, Walsh called out, multiple hyperspace signatures detected. The Zarkak's fleet is arriving ahead of schedule. The Imperial Armada emerged from hyperspace in an overwhelming display of force. 30 warships, each one bigger than the last, arranged in an attack formation that would have struck terror into any conventional defender. At their center, the Imperial Vengeance lived up to its name, a behemoth of a vessel that dwarfed even the massive shipyard. They're launching fighters, Patil reported, reading over 1,000 small craft. Energy readings suggest they've upgraded their weapons based on data from the traders. Signal from the enemy flagship, Walsh announced. It's Supreme Commander Vextal. The Zarkak's commander's face appeared on their screen, his expression a mixture of contempt and anticipation. Captain Chen, I had hoped you would be here to witness the end of humanity's futile resistance. Your capture of Admiral Drake was impressive, but it changes nothing. His task was already complete. We've prepared a special welcome for you, Commander, Chen replied calmly. Perhaps you'd like to count our ships again. She signaled Rodriguez, who activated their enhanced mirror protocol. Across the battlefield, the false human vessels began moving into attack positions, their energy signatures now strengthened by the shipyard's power grid. To the Zarkak sensors, they would appear completely real. Vextel's expression flickered as his tactical officers reported the apparent size of the human fleet. An impressive illusion, Captain, but we both know the Resistance doesn't have this many ships left. Your ghost protocol cannot fool us again. Are you sure about that? Chen asked. Your sensors couldn't tell our projections from real ships last time, and we've learned a few new tricks since then. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. All hands, battle stations, begin Operation Phantom Fleet, Phase 2. The Defiant's 15 projected vessels moved with perfect coordination, launching what appeared to be fighters and missiles toward the Zarkak's fleet. The enemy responded exactly as they had hoped, spreading their formation to deal with attacks from multiple vectors. They're taking the bait, Walsh reported. Their fleet is dispersing to engage our Phantoms. Santos reports the shipyard power transfer is complete, Rodriguez added. Mirror protocol is operating at 120% of designed capacity. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Launch our real weapons. Let's show them why you should never underestimate human ingenuity. The Defiant had spent weeks preparing for this battle, seeding the surrounding space with cloaked mines and automated weapon platforms. As the Zarkak ships moved to engage the Phantom fleet, they triggered these hidden defenses. Explosions blossomed across space as the mines detonated. Precision strikes from the automated platforms targeted enemy engines and weapons. The Imperial formation began to break down as ships took damage from unseen attackers. Multiple enemy vessels reporting system failures, Patil announced. Their defensive formations are compromised. Signal the shipyard, Chen ordered. Execute Operation Legacy. Deep within the facility, engineers initiated emergency protocols that they had practiced for weeks. The 3 prototype vessels, though incomplete, had one system that was fully operational, their phase shift drives. Energy spike from the shipyard, Walsh reported. They're activating the prototype drives simultaneously. The massive surge of exotic matter energy created a cascading dimensional effect, exactly as they had planned. A wave of phase shift distortion swept across the battlefield, temporarily pushing everything it touched slightly out of normal spacetime. For most ships, the effect lasted only seconds, but the Zarkak's vessels, their shields and systems already destabilized by the Defiant's attacks, were caught unprepared. Multiple ships lost power as their reactors failed to compensate for the dimensional shift. The Imperial Vengeance is falling out of formation, Patil reported with satisfaction. Their main power is offline. All hands, Chen broadcast to her crew. This is what we've been waiting for. Today we prove that humanity's legacy isn't just about surviving. It's about showing the galaxy why we should never be underestimated. The Defiant charged forward, its weapons targeting the vulnerable flagship with surgical precision. Around them, their Phantom fleet continued to occupy and confuse the remaining enemy vessels while the automated platforms pressed their attack. As the battle reached its climax, Chen received one final transmission from the shipyard. Chief Engineer Santos appeared on screen, his face streaked with sweat, but wearing a fierce grin. Captain, the prototype's phase shift drives are still operational. We can trigger one more pulse, but it'll burn them out completely. Might give you the opening you need to finish this. Chen nodded. Do it. And Santos, thank you for believing in the legacy we're building here. The second phase shift pulse was even more powerful than the first. The Imperial Vengeance, already crippled, began breaking apart as dimensional stresses tore through its massive hull. Supreme Commander Vextel's final transmission was cut short as his mighty flagship collapsed in on itself. In the aftermath of the battle, as the surviving Zarkak ships retreated in disarray, Chen stood on the Defiance bridge and watched the shipyard's engineers already beginning repairs on the prototype vessels. Message from command, Walsh reported. The Zarkaks are pulling back across all sectors. The loss of their flagship and the demonstration of our new capabilities has thrown their entire command structure into chaos. They thought they had crushed our spirit when they took Earth, Chen said quietly. They thought humanity would accept defeat and subjugation. Instead, we showed them that our greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to never stop fighting for our future. The Defiant had started as one ship, carrying humanity's hopes for survival. Now it had become something more. A symbol of their refusal to submit, their capacity to achieve the impossible, and their legacy of determination in the face of overwhelming odds. As her crew began assessing the damage and preparing for the battles yet to come, Chen knew that they had changed the course of the war. The Zarkak's empire would never again make the mistake of underestimating humanity's potential. The legacy they were building would echo across the galaxy for generations to come.